So now our stick figure has just dodged the hammer and now he's about to strike back. He's going to grab the brush tool and use it to draw a bomb to throw at the hammer. But I think we should have the hammer take another swing as he's trying to draw and force him to jump up out of the way and draw the bomb up here while hanging off the side of the screen. So the first thing we need to do is make a version of the paintbrush that he can grab. So let's trace it with the vector tools so it's nice and crisp. I'm going to use the line tool and make it a nice bright color so we can see. And I'm just going to make two rough triangles and adjust them in a second. Now with the regular select tool, you can click and drag on a vector line to sort of bend it into a shape that you want. Also, you can alt click and it will add another corner point to the line, which can help you make the curve change direction. So that outline looks close enough. Now I'll just use the eyedropper tool to select the color from the button, and the paint bucket tool to fill in the outlines. Then shift click to select the outlines and delete, and there's our brush. I think I need to resize the tip a little. Adjust the handle just a bit. Then select and F8 to make a symbol called paintbrush. And let's move the anchor point here because that's where I'm going to have him holding the brush. Now we actually need a new layer so we can put in a gray rectangle to cover up the icon on the button so it actually disappears when he grabs it. Oh, but we don't want that rectangle to appear till this frame, so I'll make a key and delete before that. And actually we don't want either of these to appear until the moment he grabs the brush. So let's animate him grabbing it. I'm going to make a new keyframe, delete everything but the head, move that, and then draw the body in a new pose, grabbing the brush. Then add some frames to the timeline, and move the brush icon and the gray rectangle keys out to match up with the grab. Then a few frames later, where the next pose will be, I want to remove the brush from that layer and put it on the stick figure layer. Some people like to keep all the objects on separate layers, but when it's this simple, I like to keep them together. Now I'll draw in the body for this pose where he's turned back around. Then at this point, the hammer is going to be coming back towards him again. So on the next pose, he'll crouch down to jump out of the way. I want the brush layered in front of his hand, so I use Ctrl-Shift-Up to bring the selected object forward. Now let's make a key for the hammer and put it in position so we know where it's going to smash. Now we can do the pose for the stick figure where he's jumped out of the way. Let's get the hammer in place. Where would look best? I think here makes sense. Now let's have the figure up higher. And move the brush out here because I want him to hold onto the wall with this hand, and this hand to hold the brush. Actually, let's have the arm down at this point. Okay, add more frames. Then let's make a pose of him holding the brush up and shift his body up with it. Now he's going to draw a cartoon bomb like this. So let's add some frames and draw the bomb next. There, that one looks good. Now we'll make that a symbol. Bomb, draw. And we'll do the drawing in within that. So we do this just like with a stick figure. We're going to make keys with F6 and erase the bomb little by little each frame. Then select all the frames and go to Modify, Timeline, Reverse Frames. And now it's drawing in. Actually, we don't need the blank one. That would make it hard to select this symbol. So now on the main timeline, we want his hand to follow the line frame by frame as it's drawn in. We want to make sure his positioning won't be awkward. I think for this it would be better to move the anchor point to the tip of the brush. And let's see what his range of motion looks like. I think here he has to reach too far, so let's bring the bomb in a little bit. Yep, that looks better. Let's go to the first frame of the bomb drawing and match up the brush to the line. Make sure the anchor's at the tip. Position it and put in the arm. You know, actually, I think I'm going to put this arm and the brush on a separate layer so that we don't have to keep copying the whole body every frame. Now I'll continue positioning the brush on the next frame. And actually, I'm going to do the brush on every frame first and then go back and do the arm. Oh, and we need to set the bomb's looping property to play once so it stops on its last frame. And now I'll paint in the arm on every frame. I'll rotate the brush as needed. And for the last frame, I'm going to copy the arm and skew it since they're so close together. Now I do want to get some subtle motion in his head and body, but in the easiest way possible. So I'm going to make a new layer and separate his head onto that layer. Then I'm going to make the remaining part of his body a symbol. Stick body on wall. And move the anchor point to his foot planted here on the wall. Then I'm going to make a few keys and put the head in different positions. And I'll do the same thing with his body, skewing it to match up with the head. Then I add tweens to all those keys. There, that looks good. So he's got his bomb. Let's add some more frames. Let's figure out the timing of the figure jumping up. I think I can eliminate some of this pause here. All this action should happen fast, but I want to make sure the viewer has time to see that he's about to draw something. Before we can really do that, let's figure out what happens with the hammer after this point. Maybe he brings it back to this position, then bring it up to swing again. Actually, it should come out more. Then about here, it will be in mid-swing and he'll be throwing the bomb. Okay, now back to the stick figure. After the bomb is painted, let's put all stick figure parts back on the same layer. So I'll copy and paste, and then break apart the body to get the individual pieces again. Now I'll shift the parts around to make a pose where he's pulled back the brush. Then I'm going to have him use his empty hand to grab it, so he needs to grab the wall with his paintbrush hand. Let's move the anchor point on the brush again. Now I think the fuse on the bomb should be lit as soon as he finishes drawing it, and I want to do that before he grabs it, so I'm going to duplicate the symbol and call it bomb fuse. Then I need to set its looping property to loop. Make sure it starts on frame 1. And then inside, I'll move the final key to the front and delete the others. I'll add a new layer. We only need a few frames. And then over these 5 frames, I'm going to make a little sparking animation on the fuse. Okay, now let's check how that looks on the main timeline. Okay, the sparks are good, but let's make the fuse actually burn down. Back in the symbol, let's break apart the bomb drawing object into a raw line. And I want to put the fuse on a new layer, so I need to break it off somehow. I'll draw a line across it, break that apart. Now I can just select the fuse segment, cut and paste that, get rid of the line. Then I'm going to use a tween to reduce the line, so I'll make a key and shrink the line down. Straighten it out a little bit. Then I'll add a shape tween. And we want that to take a long time, maybe 1.5 seconds. Now we need the sparks to last that long too. Instead of pasting the frames over and over again, I'm going to copy them and put them inside a new symbol called fuse sparks. And paste inside it. Then back in the bomb fuse symbol, I'll get rid of the frames and put the fuse sparks symbol on the timeline. So now as the fuse burns down, we need the sparks to follow. So I'll make an end keyframe, move the sparks down, and add a tween. And let's make the fuse even smaller. I'll use the pen tool to remove some points. Great, let's extend that to 2 seconds just in case. So now that bomb is definitely ready, and we need to animate the stick figure throwing it. So we'll do that in the next video.